Well, welcome to the Hippest Trip on YouTube. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. I have been spending all week with my buddy Unirock here and the Unirock Dungeon. What do you call this place? I forgot.
Studio Dungeon.
The Studio Dungeon. Excuse me. The qualifier makes a difference. Studio Dungeon. We were hanging out and maybe get a little scene behind the scenes here, get a little idea what's going on, and it's been a lot of fun. I have really enjoyed my trip here. What happened to the cat? There's Gus.
He's a free spirit.
There's Gus. Everybody say hi to the cat. There's Gus.
Hi, I'm Gus.
He's usually floating in the background of stuff, but he's not doing that right now. So we are going to get into this and discuss a little bit. But the thing we were going to discuss before we really dive into this topic is I kind of want to talk about evolution some, and then 23andMe. If you guys know what that is, it is a service where you can send in a DNA sample. I think it's just a swab out of the lip. I never did it, but my brother did it. So I assume we have the same DNA. So I'll share that, and then we're going to talk about that, what that means, and that then we're going to dive into some evolution, because evolution, this is a little weird about 23andMe. I think 23andMe, Unirock says there are some shortcomings with that, right?
There are, and I just learned this recently.
Over here in this camera.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just learned this recently. So, yeah, you can swab your mouth and get an idea of your DNA. Many people love to do this. It kind of shows, you know, your lineage and maybe where your family came from, right? Well, sometimes, and that's the thing, a lot of people don't realize that what it's showing you is your commonality between other people on Earth right now. So let's say your DNA comes up and it's possible your ancestors were in Europe, but all of a sudden they decided to move to India, and you know, they could have been there for 30, 40, 50 years. Well, there's some studies showing that it's possible that you're really not seeing your lineage, but more of the area where more of your DNA is in common with other people. But it's still cool. I still think it's awesome.
Yeah, so that's it. Is it's not 100% those tests. You know, it's kind of based on where people live, not so much like a genetic marker.
Exactly.
But I also wouldn't. I think it's also useful because people are very surprised at what's in there. Now, I want to Rach. I'm going to check. Are we okay on sound? I haven't got a sound yet. Someone was complaining about the sound here. I want to say hi to, I haven't seen a Ray of Sunshine in a long time, and Ban Jojo. Thanks, guys. And Iron J Rod. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate you guys tuning in early. I don't know how late we're going to go here, but we're going to have some fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this little clip of my DNA results. So you guys can run off and sell these.
Ooh.
Yeah, big money.
We can clone you now.
Because, yeah, that's right. You bring me back. So here's my, well, these are my brother's DNA results, but I assume they're the same as mine. So I'm pretty white. It looks like 97% European, which is I mean, I knew I was really Italian. I got some weird countries mixed in here. I got some Spanglish and Balkan. And then British and Irish, it's from my mom's side. They're all kind of from that area. But look down to the very bottom.
I noticed that.
I also have 267 variants of Neanderthal genes. Now, why does this keep coming up? When people do these tests, they keep getting Neanderthal. And what's that about? So to me, you know, there was a lot of theories that Neanderthal and humans were around the same time, and that they were close enough that they actually interacted in bread.
Oh yeah.
So they found some. Oh man, I forgot where it was at. I believe it was in Gibraltar, where they found some Neanderthal artwork where they didn't think like, oh, Neanderthals weren't smart enough to draw cave art, and they found a bunch of cave art. So there's a lot more to other humanoids that they think now they're rewriting and saying, well, maybe we made a mistake.
And that's true. You know, there's a lot of studies. In fact, you know, a lot of people go to school just for this one, you know, topic. So many people are hitting the dirt. They're examining fossils and you know, examining, trying to get cataloged the huge amount of DNA and find out where we came from. It's like this thing that kind of, I would say, haunts us. I don't think that's a good word, but it's something always in the back of everybody's mind. Where did we come from? You know, who do we have things in common with? What did our ancestors go through? What was life like for them? And I always trace it back as far as I possibly can in my head. I'm probably obsessive compulsive, but I go back to the, you know, the baseline. I'm always asking myself, where did humans come from? And it's been a lot of debate lately. It really has.
Yeah, it's interesting that this is coming up, but I think it's time worthy though that so many different theories out there. There's, you know, like a biblical theory that we're like 6,000 years old.
Yeah, around 6 to 10, I would think.
And then there's other theories that say, you know, like they find a city Pumapunka that's saying, you know what, there was advanced civilization 10,000 years BC, which is, it's like doubling the human timeline.
Oh yeah.
You know, that they're saying, wow, there's carvings and stuff, and this city's 10,000 BC. Then they're finding underground and underwater stuff that they're like really old. But it even goes further than that, because there's ideas that humans have been active like in our life form, well, similar to us, human being structure for over 100,000 years. There's some that say 250,000 years. And Rachel was just telling me that they found a footprint of a humanoid from was 1.5 million years ago.
Yes.
So 1.5 million years, there's somebody walking around on 2 feet.
And that would make sense. One thing that I found, like a commonality between all the guys, all the archaeologists I've interviewed in the last 2 months, is they all say that there were evidence of cataclysm everywhere through the world, for one, and that also, like when Doc mentioned sunken cities, this can tell us a lot about humanity, because we can take, you know, geological data and go back and say, well, this ice age was at this time, this the earth looked this way at this certain time, and we know that like there are some cities that are 200 feet underwater, and we can go and say, well, how long ago was it to when this would have been above water that this could have been built? And some studies go back as far as 250,000 years, which is, that's building a city, paving a road. So that's very, you know, you ask yourself, did this place get sunken because of a catastrophe more recently, or was it built, you know, 250,000 years ago?
Yeah, is there like really cavemen that are going to sit there and build roads out of stone and cobble structures? I mean, with,
oh yeah,
you know, chicken bones. What are they? You know, what are they?
Yeah, so that takes the conversation to a place that, and it's my belief, and any of you guys that saw my earlier streams on my channel was young, this topic I hit many times. My belief is that intellectual human beings have been on the earth for a very long time, and I mean hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years. Just a personal belief, though.
And I kind of agree with that. And we're going to talk about more of this, but there's a guy, oh, he's in charge of the Ubuntu movement, Michael.
I know who you're talking about.
Mel would be cussing me out right now. Mel, I'm sorry, I can't remember his last name. Titchener? Michael.
Sounds right.
Michael something with a T. If you guys can mention in the comments, I'd appreciate it, and I'll throw that in there. Oh, we're getting all kinds of love. Thanks, Lava Girl. We love you back. Mama T's house. So, yeah. Oh, the cat just licked me.
He loves
that cat. The cat licked me, and he's got like sandpaper tongue. You know,
he
cat
does.
tongues.
It can hurt. It hurts sometimes.
You ever seen like the microscopic views of cat tongues? In there? They look like little Velcro hooks.
Oh yeah. Well, that makes sense, because it's like he's got razor blades on the end of his tongue sometimes. Right, Gus?
Looney Tunes says Michael Tellinger. Yes.
Tellinger.
Tellinger. See, we just had to stall for a sec because of the cat.
Good job, Gus.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gus. Michael Tellinger comes up and he's saying, okay, all over Africa are these round circles of stones, these rings, and that they're dating them like 200,000 years old, these rings, because what happened is there's these carved stones, even though they're kind of ancient, and the stones end up getting deposits on them that take almost 200,000 years to form.
Mhm.
So they're like, okay, we have this sculpture stone with these growths that we know, you know, this kind of erosion takes 200,000 years. So they're like, whoa, these things are really, really old. And we wonder, how many times has mankind been here? How many times do you think they left? Because there is these rings all over Africa, like tons of them. And they believe that there's theories that had to do with Anunnaki, and these rings would like make sound and raise gold up, you know, with vibration, that they were like gold transports or something. There was all these theories about ancient alien stuff with it. But the fact is that you can get on Google Earth and see just tons of these rings made so long ago. There had to be some sort of intelligent humanoid doing this.
Oh yeah.
So what the heck happened to them?
Well, that leads us into a topic, and a lot of archaeologists say it's called the ages of man. We just watched a video, and they were acting like it was scientific fact, kind of, that we're in the 6th age of man, which is a little guesswork. We don't really know. We can take, like, you know, the Mayan religion and Hopi and some other religions that have been passed down by word of mouth for a very long time and say they mention 5 ages of man, but a cataclysm, you know, bottlenecking DNA and DNA spreading out again 5 different times, and then seeing actual physical evidence of something happening, you know, by looking at the way that plant life dies off in the same time period. So, I mean, it's there to be, there is data backing this up. And it also leads in, and I don't mean to skip topics, I hate when I do that, but we've got the age of man thing, and we've got the other part of it, which is whether or not archaeologists or mainstream archaeology is covering up this information, because it does kind of throw a wrench into the system we have, and also the religious teachings that a lot of people, it basically would upset a lot of people if these evidences became into the history book or mainstream. So some people think it's a good thing that we kind of keep our old thought process, you know, it kind of protects a lot of people. Some people say that there's an even more, not sinister, but complex reason behind it.
Yeah, there's so many different theories, guys, and all of them kind of sound good, you know, like that mankind was created to do slave labor here. We were a slave species, and that we've been created a few times, that they've wiped us out because we were too good, too intellectual. There's also ideas that like the Mayans and stuff that simply just evolved into the next dimension. They rode the next reality out of here.
The disappearances, yes.
Yeah, so there are ideas that this place has been around way longer. I mean, they're finding footprints that are 1 million years old.
Mm.
So how many times has mankind or some sort of form of mankind been here? What happened to them? Where'd they go? And, you know, how big were they? How big were these populations? So it just mind boggles me, because in my heart, I feel like mankind has been here many times.
Oh, yeah.
And that they have either evolved into another evolution, or they've restarted the game a few times. There's entire areas that they were saying, like, you know, the cradle of man in Africa, that the reason the desert's there is that some alien wiped out that whole area.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that nothing can grow there again because it's been wiped out. And
because of technology and things.
And they'll look at like the stones, and they've been liquefied by like nuclear weapons.
Yes.
You know, I mean, how does that happen naturally? It doesn't, unless there's like a volcano there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, right. So there's this idea, and it's mind-boggling to me to think, how are we a species that has amnesia, unless it's done on purpose?
Oh, yeah. And you know, and that's one thing I was going to bring up later, you know, the almost like this world that we're in, this universe. I watched several videos, you know, on this topic lately, and every one of them is asking a question, you know, why are we here? You know, we could do so much with the cosmos. We could do so much with this place. And it's like, well, you know, it doesn't seem like we're meant to be on this place for a very long time. It's almost like this place is meant to be an experience. You know what I mean? So is that maybe what this universe is for? Is it for us to experience what we need here, take it with us wherever we go next? It's a question, but it does seem like it's built that way. Our memory itself shows us. It almost is like the way our memory is almost says, you know, it's meant to be. It's natural, you know, to forget.
I also look at that and I feel like that, you know, depending on whatever you believe, most religions agree that we're made in God's image of some sort of, which to me translates to, if somebody created mankind, that we're really close to whoever created us, and that we were too good and too close to them, and we wouldn't do the crud labor or whatever they wanted, and that they had to wipe out that design and make a throttle design. Because if you look at our DNA, we got a lot of junk DNA. Like 8 to 9% of DNA is not even human in us. It's like viral DNA and stuff that shouldn't be in there.
Oh yes, that's a strange thought.
To me, I think everybody had at one time, your spiritual self had access to your physical self. They would communicate, where now it is really throttled back and hard to get it to go. But the DNA has been rearranged and blocked so many times that and cut apart and throttled and fused. There's just, as you get better at DNA, there's just so much evidence that it's been tampered with. Like a lot of people don't realize I have science backgrounds. I have degrees in biology and chemistry, and I've taken honors genetics and, you know, some very high level genetics classes. So when I look at the DNA stuff, I'm like, man, this has so been cut apart and tampered with. And sure, some of that's going to happen naturally, but some is not so good. Yeah. So I don't know. What do you guys think that are listening? We're getting all kinds of people coming in. I see Jarrell, man. Where have you been?
Yeah, buddy, coming out of the
Jarrell,
woodwork,
I figured he'd be too busy playing South Park to talk to us. It just came out. We were just talking about you today, Jarrell. We were looking at Unirock's games, and I was like, you know, every game you have, Jarrell has. Yeah. Everyone.
Friends that play it,
Jarrell is the only person that has like some weird game you have. He has it. So yeah. When I had to take a couple shots at my buddy Mike there. Diana, Joe, I believe, thanks so much. I don't think you've ever donated before. I don't know who you are, but big heart right there. My heart's pulsing for you. Thank you.
Excellent.
That was very sweet of you. And Burma, good to see. I was going to have Burma on tonight, guys, but she does not feel good. She has a raspy voice, and she sounds kind of like Kathleen Turner right now.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, but actually, I don't think Kathleen Turner aged real well, did she?
I don't want.
You guys remember the lady from Romancing the Stone that everybody thought was? Well, I thought I had a big crush on her.
Everybody loved her.
I still kind of have a crush on her.
Yeah.
But she's got that raspy kind of sexy voice.
It's like she smoked a lot of cigarettes all at once.
Yeah.
Like in a day, a whole carton. You know.
Yeah, like, something like that. She was like speaking through cigarettes as she did her lines. It's weird because I do find kind of that voice really sexy, but also. Who was the other one that had a real sexy voice that I had a crush on when I was a kid? She's in Back to School, and she's the blonde lady that's hitting on Rodney Dangerfield, the teacher.
That was just on TV upstairs.
And she's got also a real sexy voice. And I saw her recently show up in a episode of Workaholics.
Really?
Workaholics. They go to a nurse. They go to a nursing home. And they pick up these old people to party with. And do you remember they bring them back to the party? And there's like, and they're like, she's sitting on Durs the whole time.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Oh man, it's like a nursing home one. It's just hilarious. So
best show ever.
And if you notice the camera moving, that is the cat that's touching our table.
Yeah, Gus is great.
Oh, there we go. I want to say hi to you guys before we dive into this a little deeper. And Miss Waffles, man, it's been a while since I've talked to her. Scott, thanks for joining. And I don't know Hippocampus 88. Thanks for coming along on the ride tonight. So for you guys that are just tuning in, here's the deal. I showed in the beginning my cool little. I'll put it up one more time for you guys that are just joining late. I had. Well, my brother had a me and 23 breakdown, and here's what my genetics look like. So if you guys want to rebuild me one day, there it is. That's what I'm gonna break down. If you're like, oh, okay. But notice at the very bottom was the Neanderthal genes, and a lot of people are freaking out because they're like, why are Neanderthal genes in my family's DNA? So I wanted to show all that before we really dove into this. So that's kind of what you missed. We talked about how there are many different theories about how old mankind is. And I think the reason that is because there's been multiple mankind's that have been wiped out or either evolved and went out of here in a ball of light, or aliens picked up and moved to another planet, or, I mean, when there's like millions of people and they disappear all in a short period,
with the remains, you know, and we do see remains in some places, it is strange. You know, I was going to mention more about how DNA is just so mechanical. It's like if you watch, there's these really cool videos on YouTube. You can type in how does a cell work or what does DNA look like, and it looks cool. But when you see these little arms reach up and start to comb it, and they start to looks like they pick little pieces off and move it, and these things that happen during reproduction inside of a cell, it looks like we have teams of living things organizing information. And how, you know, that's basically the thought behind Star Wars, that there's a bunch of these little guys inside each cell, and they're magical, or they're powerful, or they have the force of life. And you know, it really puts a mind of that when you see it. It's so it's kind of it changes the way you think about it. It changed the way I thought about DNA when I saw this.
The metachlorian theory.
The metachlorian theory.
There
yes,
you go.
what you can call it.
So I am sitting here thinking to myself, you know, we've done a lot of shows on DNA and how and I'm positive at this point that DNA is physical, but it's also a reaction to a frequency. That I was talking about the experiments where they would take DNA and they would cut it into pieces, and they would try to get it to reassemble by firing electricity and all kinds of stuff and chemicals, and nothing would make this DNA reassemble until you put another piece of DNA next to it, and it somehow sent a frequency that told this one to reassemble. So you can reassemble the DNA.
Like it communicates almost.
Yeah, and so to see that can be done in a test tube. Well, what about when we got billions of cells of DNA that I'm broadcasting a frequency all the time, and so are you, and so is, you know, so and to think that you can screw people's DNA, but I also feel like the DNA forms because of a frequency, and if you get a healthy frequency, maybe you can turn that back. We had a guest on, a real interesting one called Barry Cooper, who kept saying that, oh man, he was using some sort of chemical. Man, I can't believe I forgot the name, but not
ayahuasca.
No, the other one.
DMT.
No, the other one. It was something that he said that he felt like it would rewrite DNA. Now, of course, there's no proof in that, but he compared it to like an antivirus program.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a virus program on your computer, you run an antivirus and it rewrites the code to bring it back to the original form. The addiction drug, I just can't remember what it's called. I cannot believe I forgot that. But there's he was talking about how that
something came.
ivocaine. I think it's called.
We're almost there.
We're getting there. If somebody knows it, jump on in. Mike, if you could help us out on this one. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, so I do feel like that DNA can be rewritten to an extent. I have no proof of that. I don't know. But I do feel like they've obviously made a connection with frequencies in DNA. Now, does that mean that all these human throttles that are put in place by something has played with our DNA and rearranged it? For me to think that happened by evolution accident, really not buying it.
No,
not that many. I mean, 9% of your DNA messed with. No.
Yeah, and when you study DNA and you start to, they do have many, and I don't have the list in front of me, but you can find it easily. There's a lot of these time periods where they show that human beings have had a massive change in not only their DNA, but their minds, and it correlates between the two. The DNA changes, the mind gets bigger or something, you know.
Right.
We become smarter as a people. So what does that say about evolution?
Yeah, I was, like I said, I have degrees in biology and they drum that stuff, and I thought evolution was it. And then as I started getting older and more spiritual and more into science, I realized that I remember thinking to myself, I was in a cell biology class, and just the way organelles work in a cell biology class, how one cell, how many different things go off at one cell at one time. You can spend your entire life studying organelles and not know it. You can study a mitochondria your whole life and not understand how it works completely. that happened randomly. The more I studied science, the more spiritual it made me. I was like, there is no way that happened, and then the other piece of the cell happened, and then the other piece of the cell happened. And by the way, all these can communicate together and work and make a human. And then you have a spiritual side. I mean, there's so the more science I tried to prove, the more it backfired and made me more spiritual.
Same here.
And so to think that that evolution is saying that we were cavemen one day, and then all of a sudden, you know, we could build pyramids and do all these things. I'm just having a hard time buying that kind of evolutionary jump in such a short period.
And I think it's a thing that the mainstream is confusing. When they say, you know, evolution, it means we don't have a God. If that's, no, it doesn't mean that. Evolution, I believe, is a real thing, but I don't think it's this thing where a little tiny thing blossomed into all these other things. And again, this is my opinion due to all the study and research I've done in the past. But, you know, when you have, like they say, and this is in the news in the last 2 weeks, they say that birds are evolving their beaks to fit bird feeders, popular bird feeders.
Well, I read a book back in when I was back in school called The Beak of the Finch. And it was all about how they went to the Galapagos Islands, and Darwin sees all these different kind of finches, and he gets the idea that, oh, these finches design different beaks, and that evolution maybe moves a little faster than we thought. I don't know what to say about that. Maybe.
I think it's adaptation, and I think they've confused it.
But the traditional thing we get that, you know, evolution takes millions of years to make like 1 or 2 changes. Yeah, that doesn't match up with the human timeline at all.
And that's called a mutation. And recently, many scientists, biologists, whatever you want to call them, I just generalize with the word scientist. They now believe that mutation through further study isn't a good thing. It's not something that furthers humanity. They now think that mutation is the bad thing. It's when there's an error, and it is extremely rare. You know, they say, well, we mutated, and every time we mutate over a very long gap of time, it aids in our evolution. There's just these accidental mutations, and it fits better to the environment, and it makes us thrive. But that doesn't seem to be true, because in all of the examined mutations that we see, the real ones, the ones we can look at, they actually don't help in any way. Now, that doesn't mean it's not true that there wasn't a mutation that did help, but does that blow evolution out of the water? But I'm saying evolution as in a long time ago, there was all these bacteria, and somehow they came together in over a very long period of time to form this, you know. In that form of evolution, I just think it's just I'm
having a hard time. And as I get older, I realize that every single thing I learned is practically a lie.
Yes.
Like everything.
It's true.
Everything in government school, lie. Everything that we've been told. And maybe that is part of the experience of being down in this reality, that we're here as a challenge to see if we can
open our eyes. Yeah.
Are we going to take what's spoon-fed, or are you going to evolve past that? And the people that keep eating the spoon-fed stay here, you know, and then the people that don't evolve past it.
We do have these religions all over the world that talk of, you know, Buddhist. They're reaching nirvana, reaching the next spiritual plane to be able to ascend when you die. Yeah. I mean, and then reincarnation if you don't. And then I think it's a Western. It's a more Western concept. They say that reincarnation, if you don't, you know, do good in this life, you're going to come back as a bug or a snake. No, I think that's them taking this thing where, you know, if you don't push yourself, understand your reality, and wake up and evolve further, I think, yeah, you may have to reset a little bit. But I think they're just taking that concept, running with it, and putting that into our minds, really, you know. I
mean, I'm not sure on that one, because, all right, there is a documentary out there that showed, and I bet some of you guys watch this on YouTube, and you guys that are listening, maybe you can drop this, about that they scientifically proved more than a statistical variation that reincarnation is real.
Oh yeah.
That they followed these little kids around and documented thousands of them that knew way more than they should have known.
I've seen that too.
And they had a documentation. Gosh, I can't speak tonight. They had a film where they followed one kid in particular about how he thought he was a World War II pilot.
And he drowned. That's fascinating.
And then he knew like the buddies' names that were shot down with him and the name of his plane, and he always wanted to be a pilot. And then they take him out to where he died, and the little kid cries and he's done. You know, he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we get to a point where I feel like, I mean, for what science is worth, it's really close to proving reincarnation's real. If that's the case, I kind of still am. I'm not sure I believe in the whole karma thing. I believe in karma, that if you do bad things happen. You know, you put that bad energy out, it'll come kick you in the butt. But I don't think that's really what karma's called. I think karma is the next life. It's not this life. It's you screw around in this life and you pay for it in the next life. I don't necessarily believe that you can't get out of the karmic wheel. I think we're here in this reality. We have a choice if we want to leave anytime we go.
Yeah.
Oh man, Douglas.
And maybe
Douglas DeLay. Wait.
That's
10
good.
bucks. Thank you. You get a. I know. I need a sound.
He said, "Yay, Douglas!"
Thank you, my man. We're gonna use it to feed Gus.
He needs a can of cat food.
He does. We're gonna buy some cat food. All right. So what were we? I'm completely disheveled.
We talked about karma. We talked about the idea that maybe if we mess up in this life, you know, and then this idea of hell, this idea of Sheol and waiting when we die and things like that, reincarnation. The thing is, are we meant to know really any of the details? I believe that we aren't. I think that if life is an experience, all those little details are types of maybe things for this higher place, you know?
I think you know at the end.
Ready. Yeah.
Or when you're getting closer. But I think in the beginning of your life, you're not supposed to know this stuff. You're supposed to experience it. I mean, how do you know what good is if you don't experience evil? You know, how do you know? You're supposed to experience these dichotomies. If this place is a virtual video game or a reality, then what's the point of cheating and hacking it, going right to the end? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, how much of experience are you gonna get out if you know you're playing a video game? So it's like,
yeah, and you know the whole thing about the simulation theory. If this is a virtual game and stuff, even if it is, it would make everything just as real, in my opinion. So I think that all leads to this thing that DNA. And some people literally leave me comments and say I'm crazy for saying this, but it's okay because I think DNA is from another place. I think it's that thing that organizes us and makes us who we are, and I don't think it came from this universe.
I agree in a sense that, like I was saying in the beginning of this, that they can prove that frequency will make DNA assemble. They can cut up DNA and stick it next to a live one, and it shoots a frequency that makes it reassemble. I think that information, that frequency thing, is coming from another reality, and that frequency is making DNA form here. So I believe, in a way, you're saying DNA is from another place. I think you're right.
Yeah,
it's coming in. That information's. It's just the physical expression of that information.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think.
And are the bits that make us? We don't really know what they are. There was all this arguing about what are these little bits that make us. You know, even atoms aren't small enough now, and even the pieces of atoms aren't small enough. They're saying that there are things called like qubits or Q something.
And I imagine as technology gets better and better, they'll just keep finding smaller and smaller particles. I mean, eventually they'll say this is as small as it gets, and then they'll go, we're wrong.
Because they do that with everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of people take that and that forms a lot of conspiracy. I like to analyze conspiracy logically, and I think that a lot of conspiracy is formed because of these unknown things and these guesses that are represented as facts. Not everything, just some things.
I am going to, now there's a lot of chat going on that you guys, when you're watching the replay, aren't going to see. This is why you should go to the live chat so you can catch this. A lot of it is just trying to embarrass me, but some of this are real good questions. Long Hair Hello says, I absolutely believe in past lives and future lives, eternal souls, energy never dies. And I agree with that, you know, it's pretty, I think energy can in and exit. I think energy can come from another reality and go out to another reality. I think they can pass around, but I don't know if they die.
I don't feel like I do. I mean, you know, like that gut feeling we talk about. I know, like, and I've had some, you know, near hits there when it comes to crossing the border to the other side, and I just feel like there was something there, and that's one thing that helped me get to the point where I'm at. But you know, a lot of people say that too. What sense is it? And I don't want to get too philosophical because, and I said that completely wrong. I don't want to get too cray-cray, philosophical. I don't want to get too cray-cray here because, you know, we're trying to actually talk about a real thing
over here.
but I gotta move my computer.
I know. Unirock keeps looking at the wrong.
I'm looking at my computer.
He's used to looking at his own computer.
But well, you know, I don't want to go too far out because we are talking about something real here. But it, you know, when you have nothing and you think of the fact that maybe the universe was empty at one point and there is nothing there, you know, how does something come from that?
Most major religions say the very first thing that happened was sound.
Yeah.
That sound, you know, God
Let
spoke
there
in
be
it.
light.
God spoke in the
word.
The universe came into being, or the you know, the Om. Buddhists believe that the Om was the first thing to appear. The certain vibration, that a vibration came through and created this reality, which is what I feel when I've had my own personal experiences, spiritual experiences, and it very much matches that. Again, you know, what can we say, guys? Because I've had my own experiences that are way more real to me than this place. I've been on the other side. I know, I feel it in my heart. I know that was it real. But to try to explain that and to try to get you to believe me, it's like, you know, he's crazy.
Yeah.
Every person that has that kind of spiritual experience, they think you're just nuts for.
Yeah,
because you can't prove it.
You accept it after a while. You're like, you know,
I don't care.
At first, you're like, oh my gosh, this is just too much. But then it comes down to a real level. I think that's when you start getting more logical about it, and it helps. And I was just thinking about this. So we communicate with each other through sound, and it's through this, and sound is this vibration, and that's what they say. All these religions and all these things say that's what created everything. And think of this too. When I logically think about life, I do that desert island thing all the time where I'm like, if I was on a desert island, would life even mean anything? You know, a human interaction has to be a big part of life.
Yeah. So
the thing is, sound, they say, created the universe, but we also have to use that vibration to communicate with each other, which also, you know, ironically could be the whole purpose of this world, to know each other, communicate, and that's the only way we can further ourselves, through interaction with other people. I
do believe that is the point of making all this here, this reality, is just to have experiences, and it's like gaining experience points. You're just you're leveling up by just having so many different kind of interactions. Good, bad, whatever. I don't want to ignore your questions.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, what are they saying? What are they saying?
Miss Burma says, Doc and Unirock, did you boys see the new scientific discovery? No, you'll have to enlighten us on what that is. Frequencies, everything. Darn right. Let's see.
Vegan Warrior Live.
Shanity. I don't know how to say that right. Shanity. Shanity. Also, there are frequencies we cannot hear or see, thus imagine. Now, I mean, we only see such a small spectrum of frequencies. There's so many other things going on around us that, oh, did you just pop Vegan's new channel?
Yeah, I was.
Hey, Vegan Warrior Live.
He's got a live channel now.
All right, Vegan Warrior, one of the buddies of the show. I saw him commenting here and there. He said that his channel got shut down for censorship, so he's had to start a few different ones here. So please hop over there and subscribe. We love the Vegan here. He's definitely part of the family.
Oh, vegan! I gotta tell you too. Doc cooked me a vegan meal. Was it last night or the night before?
Last night.
Last night.
Yeah.
And it was the first night in a long time where I felt my stomach was nice and calm and felt good. Because I have some stomach issues. I felt great. I'm gonna start eating vegan more often.
Just try to slip it in once in a while. You know, they have this thing called No Meat Mondays. It's a good place to start.
There we go. And I like taking days of the week and making them something.
No Meat Mondays is a good place to start. And that's a big reason I got off eating meat, because I'd eaten meat for my whole life, heavy. I mean, I was a big bacon fan and corned beef, and I still crave meat, but it was screwing me up, man. My gut was getting worse and worse and worse. So I finally stopped. And then when I got off it so long, if I have it now by accident or something, it will punish me. I mean, you get off it and then add dairy. Like I'm real sensitive to dairy. If I eat cheese or something, man, I die. I'm like, my face explodes. Like my nose runs all night. It sucks. So I got to be real careful with that. But so that's it. Is just I'm sorry, I don't know how we got off on that. But hi to Vegan Warrior. I'm not out proselytizing that lifestyle, but I do say that I feel way better eating like that.
Oh yeah.
Also, I just felt kind of guilty about the whole animal thing, but I don't try to. That starts a huge fight when we talk about it. So, all right, what are we going on to here? all kinds of crazy stuff with those frequencies. Hybrid Healing's talking. Hey, Simo-san. Ciao, Bella. That's
Simo.
She's from Italy, I believe.
Oh.
I believe she's Italian. And Amy, nice to see you on here. Yeah, Lava Girl says she had Crohn's disease and veganism was very good for this. I've wrote some articles about Crohn's because I've got some issues with that in our family. Like someone's very close to me is very sick with it and got intestinal cancer, and because they wouldn't pay attention. And the two biggest things that cause it to really ramp it up are smoking, inflammation, and eating meat.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it does respond really well to taking those two irritants out. Anyway, let's get back to evolution.
Well, yeah.
Oh, did you want to talk about this? But
no. I was going to say, going back to sound a little bit. You know, they say that that's the key to this whole mystery, and we have so much record of sound being able to levitate things, and maybe being the key to travel. You know, getting our travel and our power needs met. I don't know why we don't have more research into this and from the government.
It was really interesting. The first time they'd ever proven it is something that's been buried and no one ever talks about. That sound can, they have like, you guys have probably seen those clips where they're vibrating a ping pong ball by shooting sound and making a frequencies dance between each other, like interact, and they'll put something light on. But I've never seen them lift like a bowling ball or a brick. I take it back. I think there was, oh gosh, that's a whole nother story. I heard this on Ernest Hancock that like 10 years ago, some woman was putting videos up of her levitating bowling balls, and then she vanished.
There was a guy on YouTube, and this happened to the same.
And nobody can find out what happened to her. Some professor, they assume that she got a job somewhere and disappeared, but who knows? But she had made an anti-gravity device, and then vanished. Like someone that was like at a major university doing these things, and you can't find anything about her on the internet anymore.
There was a guy also, one of the biggest like conspiratorial videos I'd watched when YouTube first started, before I even used YouTube, was a guy that traveled in a RV and had very basic technology that would levitate things like bowling balls and other, you know, heavy items, weights and things. And all of a sudden he stopped uploading and no one could reach him. People were interviewing him. He was really showing this technology to people. You know how they do those tests for backers, and they're like, we want to get, you know, make sure you're not lying. And he had those and filmed them, and it was so strange. He just went away.
Yeah, and I don't know if that is people getting vanished by the government or if they're actually absorbing them and being like, here's $5 million, never talk about this again.
Yeah.
We're going to take this idea, you know, or I'm sure, I mean, everything to me in my heart tells me that the government is like 100 years ahead of people, probably 1,000 years, you know, that they've had stuff that can levitate and all this stuff, but they don't show any of that stuff to the public. I know
it really
a lot of stuff exists that we think's not there, and that sounds conspiratorial. I don't give a damn.
Yeah, and it puts a lot of weight, this whole electricity thing, you know, like that is one thing that binds us to working, is paying for the electric bill. It's heating, cooling, and everything. And, you know, that type of technology very easily would solve that problem.
Well, I think it's important to keep this humankind society busy with the 9-to-5 bread and circuses, because if all of a sudden we didn't have to go to work anymore, that we had endless power, you had a 3D printer replicator machine that can make anything you want. You want the new iPhone? Oh, okay, let me go print it out. You know, like when that happens, which is right around the corner, not very far from happening. When that happens, then people sit around and go, okay, let's start thinking deep about things.
Yeah.
And let's get into more, you know, all my physical needs are taken care of. Let me focus on my spiritual needs. And I think the powers that be would lose control pretty fast at that point.
Very true. And that is a conspiratorial thought, but it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, just by emergency services, we see that they use this tactic. You know, when emergencies happen, like an asteroid they think's coming close, they won't let us know till they know the thing's not going to hit. So, you know, these little clues kind of swing into this thought.
And I mean, not like we can do anything about an asteroid, but you know, what I'm saying is
I wouldn't go to work if it was happening.
This reality is kind of like the Matrix, where it has to vibrate at a certain low level for us to experience and be in here. if everybody starts raising it up, it tears this place apart.
Does that mean that evil's necessary?
I think it is to keep
See?
this state in this classroom alive.
You know, so many people.
If you go to the next dimension or you vibrate out of this place, that higher frequency, that stuff can't exist there. You don't see this.
Yeah, it could be this thing to kind of help people cope with evil. But I know that one thought that permeates through all of us is just how can so many bad things happen? It's at the core of a lot of movies that deal with life and other things. And movies, I say, because they go really popular, many people watch it and think it. But does that mean that evil's if we have to resonate on a low frequency just to learn the lessons that are necessary for us to be here? Yeah. I think that, you know, then evil would have to be in this realm. I mean, if it's not here, we wouldn't learn a damn thing about it.
Right.
And wouldn't it be necessary to separate it? Yeah, you wouldn't want that up there. You wouldn't want evil in the next place.
Well, almost again, every religion says that evil doesn't exist on that other that higher dimension because it's a low vibration. This place has to be a certain low vibration for it to exist physically.
That's true too.
You know, when people take psychological drugs, it rips that reality where, you know, walls warp and floors move and they start seeing the real matrix. People that take mushrooms always talk about how there's a rainbow matrix, you know, like that everything's formed by these rainbow stuff. And it's like been going back for thousands of years. You'll read these accounts and they're having the same exact accounts. And I believe that you get to peel back the matrix with that or heavy spirituality, you know, like meditation or other people get glimpses of it too.
And Barry was talking about DMT being produced when we die, and DMT, the one thing that almost every user says is that they see other beings when they take DMT. It's really quick, 10-15 minute thing. I've never touched it. I'm just telling you what's reported.
No, I never used DMT either, but I watched these videos where they're going around clipping all these random videos together and they're all explaining the same experience from all over the world.
They see beings.
And I think, I mean, this is again kind of, we have such a small way to deal with this physical reality around us. And a lot of people believe that there's other dimensions all around us, that we could be walking right now and there's beings from the fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever, how many dimensions you ever believe, all around us all the time that we just can't see. And they're, that like you said, that I think if you start vibrating high enough, you start seeing these things and you start seeing ghosts and you start seeing spirits and you start talking with other aliens. And I think some of these drugs do that. They kind of rip reality out.
It seems that way.
Where they let you see the other dimension for a little bit, that suppressor, because our brain's very suppressed. There's DNA that is in there as a throttle. The pituitary gland doesn't work right here usually. I mean, it's purposely poisoned on this planet to keep it from working right. And when you do things to deal with that, it seems that you get a glimpse from the other side, and it seems to be a universal experience. You see people that use DMT, certain drugs have certain, like the peyote man. A lot of people see the peyote man when they do peyote. You know, look at these old Indian stuff. So there's some people that can get to it by meditation. You know, that's great too.
Yeah, and there was a study on memory that I thought was really awesome. It's this recent thing. Is if anyone's ever felt this feeling when they say when the shit hits the fan, you know, they get this feeling where time slows, and it's like, you know, when you're about to fall off of a roof, or like, or when you're getting in a car accident, the moments right before it feel like 10 seconds, but it's really like 0.3 seconds. And this phenomenon was studied by a team, and they found that it was almost like memory opens up. It's like your memory it's like our memory disappears now. It's so hard you can't hardly remember what you ate 2 weeks ago for dinner or breakfast. It'd be hard to name it. But if you got in a car wreck 5 months ago, you can name every single detail about those moments. And they say that's how these scientists are describing it, that the memory opens up and takes in everything in those moments. Really strange, but I think it gives us a little bit of a peek into this, you know, more of what we're talking about here too.
Yeah, there's a spot in the brain called the basal ganglia that it's the very center of the brain. It's kind of like real close to the spinal cord. The way the brain works, guys, is the more evolved stuff's on the outside and the inside's the more primitive stuff, like your breathing and your autonomic system. And the basal ganglia is this little section that they've recently figured out kind of controls your long-term automatic memories. Like learning how to drive a car, where, you know, in the beginning when I'm driving a car, I'm really focused on it and I'm watching everything I do. And now 20 years later, I don't even notice I'm driving a car. I can have a whole, yeah, it's like some other part takes over. I think time also has something to do with the basal ganglia, that when you're using the basal ganglia, I played rugby, and for years I couldn't punt a ball worth a damn. Like, it took years for me to practice to kick a ball a good, you know, 30, 40 yards. And the but then after about, you know, 7, 8 years of drilling every other day, I can do this stuff automatically without thinking about it. Some 3 guys could be coming and tackle me and kick the ball over their head and run around and catch it. And this sort of time slows when you do this. All this goes down in less than a second, and I made like 50 decisions automatically. And I think that's when it gets into the basal ganglia. Probably like when you play music, you don't have to think anymore.
Oh, no.
Where I struggle. I'm still a beginning musician, and man, it is work for me to do that. Geez, I'm sorry, we are just totally ignoring our people. Do you see any comments we need to address here?
I'll take a look.
Guys, remember to highlight us. Mike Tampier says, be able to get you there fast, Doc. Yeah, we need to invite him on. Mike, I need to invite you on one of these days here, buddy. Traveling is kind of harder to do this. I don't know how I guess we could bring you on through Hangouts. All right, hybrid healing, for a long time, they could be used against us by fakers too. I'm not exactly sure what she's talking about here. Let's see. Why don't you pick some comments out while we're rolling here?
Yeah, Reality Check says the movie Geostorm looks good, but they're showing us what they're already doing, just like always. I should have read the one before that. I'll find it. Somebody else said a really good comment. I just passed it. Don't forget, we use devices that can't output as many frequencies, but things with antennas like CB radio, things like that, landline, analog. I get what she's saying there. Some people are worried about 5G because of the frequencies. They're saying that certain frequencies. I'm not going to bring up 5G conspiracy, but
no, that's fine. Go
ahead. Well, they're just saying that certain frequencies are interfering with the way our brains are vibrating, and that goes with HARP too. You know, all these different vibrational experiments are scary, especially when they're shooting them up into the ionosphere and changing the way we think. You know, it's very scary.
As far as frequencies goes too, and you know, there's a lot of stuff that are beyond our frequency level, like how quantum physics works and how, if that's real. But I mean, if you know, there's subatomic frequencies that, you know, how the examples of a lot of the quantum physics stuff, that things can communicate across vast distances.
Oh yeah.
Again, all of that's theory. I don't know if they can prove any of it. I mean, to my knowledge, they haven't took 2 particles and shot one into space and seen if they communicate. But
China's trying right now with satellites.
China?
Yeah, China's in the game now.
All right.
I have a video on it. China competes in the quantum entanglement game.
Do they really?
Perfect name for the video.
All right. Well, then you guys, is that on the Unirock page or the
Yep.
Uni Uprising?
Oh yeah, it's the old one.
All right. For you guys that are just tuning in, Unirock as well as Vegan had their channel censored, and so Unirock and Vegan both had to start new channels. So I've been over trying to promote his channel and doing streams with him every day while I'm staying with him. Over at Unirock Uprising, right?
Uni Uprising.
Oh, Uni Uprising.
I mean, Unirock's there. It'll be back soon, but
Uni Uprising. So if you haven't,
drop that for me, Rachel.
Yeah, right, Rach. Can you drop that in the links? Yeah, go subscribe to him, because we're trying to get him to 1,000 subscribers, so he can. It opens up a lot of options on YouTube once you get to 1,000. You can start having some sort of normal shows again. So I'm committed to try to get him push that first 1,000.
Thanks, Doc.
Yeah, man. We're talking about, Dark Horse is talking about how he's been listening to music in 432. Yeah, there was a lot of science that came down by Dr. Horowitz about 432 hertz, that it was a frequency that used to be around all the time for healing and life, and most music was written into it. And then there was some sort of change to put a very disruptive frequency. I think I forgot what we mainly hear. Is it 528? Yeah. Something like that. The frequency that most music is written in is really not good.
And it's been changed is the thing, I think, is what people are saying.
Yeah. So they have websites, entire websites, where you can go take your your favorite music and drop it in, and it converts it to 432.
Mhm.
And it does. The people that go over and listen to it say it does make them in a much better mood and a more energized mood.
And I didn't used to believe things like that. Like I knew eating healthy is better for my body. I didn't think it'd be better for me in a mental way. But honestly, I really feel like these frequencies and eating better and doing things to exercise your mind, I find that it's so important now. And it's like my mind is clearer than it ever was.
Now we're getting old. And I'm fasting a lot more than I used to, and I'm trying to get back into a habit. I'm gonna have a whole show on habits, I think, because
they rule us.
They pretty much do, and you don't even know how they get in your head. They arrive and they make themselves comfortable, and they don't ever really go away. All you can do is kind of substitute them or interrupt them.
Do you think they change us? I mean, are we the same people that we were before certain habits that we've taken on?
And everything,
I ask myself that.
Everything is habit, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy how much your body does. You run all these habit loops all day long that you don't realize. And if you ever ask yourself, sit down and go, why is that? How did I get this habit?
Break it.
It's always somebody else that stuck it in there. Like something you learned in school or something you watched on TV that got in, or your friends did, or whatever. But it's usually not a conscious decision. There's very few. Successful people do seem to have a conscious decision. The kind of guy that has been exercising, like my grandpa, exercised every day of his life for 60 years. Like 90 years old, he's getting up and going swimming every day.
Mm-hmm.
And where I've never been that disciplined. I work out here and there, and then, like when I played sports, I had to. But then once I didn't have to anymore, I was like, oh man, I don't want to get up and work out.
I've been slacking lately.
There is good. So I'm trying to examine habits, and it's kind of funny. Like if you, for good or bad, whatever people think about Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, one thing they understand is this, they'll look at it and be like, that's not very scientific. It's not how the brain works, but they get habits, man.
Oh, they can break them.
Understand
they really
the reason they are successful is they break habits.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to have all the right pieces. Even if the guy invented it like 100 years ago, dumb luck, he stumbled into something that actually worked.
Well, yeah. And they look at the baseline. They look at what drives those habits. And the one thing that really gets me is, when we were kids or younger, just in general, everything was bright and shiny and new. You hear people say that a lot, It's like, hey, when I was a kid, everything just seemed so much better. And you hear this over and over throughout some people's lives. And I feel like habits are the thing that takes that feeling away. So I feel like when you break that, and that's just me, but when I break those things, I feel like I'm back to, I feel like I'm experiencing life better.
I think that's brilliant, because I feel like for the last 10 years, I've been in a huge rut doing nothing with my life that important. And I feel that, that you're right, that you get in these habits, and I can't think of the last time I did something where I was like, man, I'm super excited about this. I really want to do it all the time and every day. And as you get older, those are getting harder and harder to find.
And it's natural.
They don't last as long, which stinks. And I think maybe it is a chemical thing that, I believe willpower is actually chemical. I believe it's just like exercise or something.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's proven a lot.
Really. And I believe that these things are real, that you can train yourself back to be passionate. You can train yourself back. But I also think that some of these are hormonal. Like if you eat crappy, that your hormones go, and you'll see kind of that in men. They start aging as they get fatter. The growth hormone goes down, the testosterone goes down, and testosterone is passion. Not just sexual passion, but passion for projects, passion for doing things, and you really got to eat like really well to get that to fire back up those testosterone levels, or and if you do succumb to start taking those testosterone replacements, they end up really screwing you up later. Yeah. So, I mean,
and the best way to go, and I hate saying it, is the most natural way. I'm not saying you shouldn't take medication or supplements. They're very necessary a lot of times. But like when we're talking about habits and the way they can kind of shake you up, and that feeling, what we're talking about, that feeling you get when you do the same thing over and over for years. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're like, you're just bleh all the time, that blah feeling. And to get rid of that, wouldn't that make a lot of more people happy if that feeling wasn't there?
Yeah, and I really like to do maybe a show on habits and how to
that's a great
how to get back your life. And vegan, if you're still listening, you'd be a perfect guy for this, because vegan was like exactly how we're talking about. And he completely changed his life, lost a ton of weight, got fired back up, found his passion again. And man, I think that some of that's really hormonal, that you got to just get fired up, and that's been a problem. I really like to get excited about something. This is a problem too that I have, is I need discipline of a sport. Like, I'm used to playing rugby and going to rugby practice and playing at least 4 to 5 days a week, doing some sort of exercise. Now when I do sports, I get bored so easy. I like tried to play tennis and it was boring, and I try to dance.
That's that habit thing.
Boring, and I try to hike. Boring after a while. You know, like, I'm trying to find something. There's nothing I can find, like a sport or something to do this really makes me get up and go, man, I can't wait to go do this.
Yeah, this new thing.
And I'm hoping that will come back. I just got to keep trying. I do like hiking, but
I think by studying habits and understanding them, I think you'll find the solution to this. And I think it'll solve a lot of other issues you just mentioned. I have the same ones. I know. I'm going to say any of the viewers that are older than, let's say, 30. I mean, it started happening to me when I was 30. I was extremely active then too, but I'm just saying, right around that time, I started getting that whole habit thing. Most of my life was habit by then. And, you know, I just find those things that I break are those things that are just so meaningful. And then I think it writes out your mind, your hormone level, your vitamins, and the way you use your vitamins. Anyway, I think if we examine this and put the same thought we put into everything else into it, I think it'll help a lot. So let's do that. I'm going to do that tonight.
Yeah, I think I want to get back into that. I want to start. I think we need to do something on habits. Maybe I'm gonna work on that. But I have been trying to instill a fasting habit. That's what I was talking to him. I don't fast enough. I need to get back into doing it, and I'm trying to get to the point where if I can do it for, I believe, more than a month. On and off, you know, I'm setting a schedule where I fast every other day, and I'm doing that for a while until I feel healthy again. And I need to create it so it's just on automatic and I don't have to think about it, because right now it's still like, oh man, I can't eat this.
So yeah, it's kind of almost utilizing habits in other areas. You see, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, Burma's bringing up, she wants me to do the yoga trapeze. So Burma has this trapeze thing hanging from the ceiling, which looks kind of like a sex swing. But she assures me it's not. It's a yoga trapeze. And she said it's really helped her.
I need one of those.
It really, I mean, yeah, for flexibility and stuff, it really does well. I don't think my ceiling could handle that.
But you know what though? Okay, let me say this. So when I was in the military, and even now, one of the most simple things that all my command taught me was stretching, like pushing. Like, I never knew how much blood gets stuck inside muscle. Not stuck, but flows less. And I didn't know, but stretching is what pushes it out.
Yeah,
I'm just throwing that into the mix
I'm
too.
laughing because Burma just gets on me so bad about stretching, and I don't stretch at all because it drives me crazy.
Burma gets on you about stretching
constantly.
Oh, water!
Like, you're the worst doctor ever. You never stretch.
I'm telling you, you drink a cup of water.
I never was a big stretcher.
Really cold water, and then you stretch. I'm gonna tell you right now, I used to get so sore in the military running 12 miles.
Oh yeah.
It would not even hurt. It didn't ding me, but it wasn't when I got like more fit. It was when I would drink water, stretch before, and then drink water and stretch directly after. I'm telling you, it's like water pushing through those muscles heals it almost.
It does. You want to push out all the lactic junk. And it is there is good science, but we have a real question here because we're sitting here talking about Burma's sex swing.
She brought it up, not us.
Mr. Sir Kenny says, what do you think about China's quantum satellite? You covered that. I don't know much about it. Tell us, catch the audience who doesn't know what this thing is. It's
been a minute, but China was trying to, and just like the title of my video, China was trying to compete in the quantum entanglement game. It's almost so perfect. I didn't mean to name it that, but it just describes it. They were trying to prove quantum entanglement. They were trying to test it. They were trying to use it. And one thing China does that we don't do, I mean, the United States at least, when they go into these scientific experiments, the spiritual part is a huge thing too. They'll try to do tests and involve tests that work with the energies of the earth, or they think of things like, and I brought this up in that video and 7 billion others, that if you do have a quantum entangled particle, it would be one of the only scientific ways to communicate with another dimension if we did prove other dimensions to be real. You know, they've proven the Higgs boson comes from another dimension or another plane. And whether that's a scientific thing or it's whatever you want to call it, but it does.
Yeah, they can watch these particles come out and out of reality.
And go back. And they're saying if we can use a quantum entangled particle to pop through, we could communicate through binary code, because whatever they shape this particle to do, this one's going to go the opposite way. And it's going to be exactly mirrored. And if it did shake back, and it did shake back in a rhythm that spelled something out, because you can spell things through binary rhythm, we would therefore communicate. And one of the only real scientific ways to say it, it's not like, hey, I'm going to do a seance. It's literally, we're going to use satellites and physics to try to communicate with another plane.
I like vegan, always the believer here. His comment says, China is a faker than a $3 bill. Thank you so much there. I want to tie this kind of back to our beginning of the hour discussion about humanity and everything, and reality of what's here. It's confusing to me, because I believe that there was a time when shamans and people like religious figures, it was very, very easy for them to communicate out of this realm back and forth, be that quantum particles we don't see, be that something, but I believe their DNA and their brains were different than ours, that they have been toyed with and throttled to keep that from happening. But if you go back and look at old different groups, there's always some sort of holy man, or people were just much more aware and in touch, and it was understood that there was this whole other side. It wasn't like what we're doing now, where we're having to run tests for billions and billions of dollars to prove one particle can move, that we can watch this particle. They didn't need that stuff.
No.
They felt it, they knew it, they lived in it. And at some time, humanity got amnesia, or on purpose. I think it was erased out of the culture and human, that now that's crazy, that sort of spiritual, you guys are loony bins for thinking that you can pray and feel something, or you can pray and communicate or talk to other people. And I really think I think it's sad that it really makes me wonder who did it, why did it happen, how, like, this is the greatest mystery. There's just this huge missing,
the ultimate
population
conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean,
yep. And on my channel,
why does mankind have no memory?
And I mentioned it so many times in my initial live streams, hours and hours of me kind of thinking while talking about this exact thing, that almost every single facet of our society, from the way we use energy to the way we could use it, the way we teach our children to the way we could, and to the things we do every day, from polluting our environment and treating the world like, hey, who cares what our grandchildren will have? All of this is so opposite to the way that our ancestors treated the world. And then to even know that it's very, very possible that they had electricity, and that they had it probably even better than we have, and broadcasted it even better than we did. The ultimate conspiracy comes into play. Was this a way, something that was implemented after the quote unquote Anunnaki, which for all we know, it could just be really greedy people. They come into power, they designate kings and pharaohs, they switch the system from free to money, and then all of a sudden we have everything being hidden from us, instead of the society working towards understanding things as a group.
And what's crazy is I don't think it'd have to take that long. Like within
a generation,
within a few generations, you could completely erase memory of what stuff was like. You go delete the history books, delete the monuments, destroy the writings, and then just teach it the way you want. Indoctrinate this child coming up that this is the way it's always been for thousands of years.
Yes,
you could completely erase a society and build a new society after everybody's died off a few times.
It's that one thought, this really weird thing.
The government's been known to go and collect and destroy all this ancient knowledge. Everything that keeps coming up, they'll just destroy. And out of the name of maybe another religion or whatever. But there's a lot of stuff that's been erased and destroyed, and I think also some purposely.
Oh, for sure, if not all. And then to the extreme, this thing is like, did you wake up today? What stopped you from waking up this morning and being here for the first time? All of our memories, for all we know, could have been implanted this morning when we woke up. If you could, when somebody
Yeah,
wakes
you
up
would.
a blank slate, just put in all the memories they've ever had. They'd think they'd live for years and they'd never know the difference.
And that's getting real deep.
It is, but it's just
it could be
extreme
like
theory
every other moment you're getting downloaded a fake memory, you know,
Yeah.
and we would never know.
And they say the only way we would ever know, and this is one of the smartest men I think I've ever read books by, but he says the only way we would ever know is by seeing small changes in our reported history.
Like glitches. Yeah.
Yes.
Hybrid Healing says, if spirit science and prayer communication was invalid, why does the American government spend tons of money training agents for remote viewing techniques?
And that's true.
Good point.
They're contradictory. Very true.
Follow the money. If they're spending money on it, it probably works.
Exactly. Or why would they?
That's true. Long hair hello says, maybe this isn't the first time the Mandela effect has happened in rewritten history.
Very
Interesting
true.
idea.
And they could that's the thing. Like it could
Do
be
you
something
think-
more extreme than little.
What an interesting theory that maybe the Mandela effect repeats every so often and completely changes and erases history.
Yeah, or maybe
That
it's
is,
just like Philip K. Dick said. Maybe it's the thing that tells us it has been.
Or it's the
erased.
glitch. But I
Yeah.
wonder if it's also us seeing the process happening.
Exactly. When we start to like deja vu, when
then
you
it
see
resets.
deja vu, just like in the Matrix, you see it and you're like, did that just happen? I don't know. When you really should be saying, I do know or I don't know. It's actually, it has to be something in your head. I'd love for people to study that more. Smart people.
I'm sorry to be distracted and laughing, but look at Unirage. You guys want to?
Did she fall asleep?
Yeah, you want to see
She
this?
does that every show.
Look at this. This is her working hard.
She does. She works so hard every night. That's what she does right there. That's what she does right
She's
there.
gonna be
She's
mad. We
dedicated.
just showed her sleep.
Don't tell her. Don't you tell her, Banjo Joe. Don't tell her tomorrow.
She's
She'll kill me.
that's her.
She won't kill Doc. She'll kill me.
She's passed out. I feel like we've done something illegal.
We told her we were going to go live, and she just started
Oh
going.
man,
We
that's
just-
so funny.
She starts typing. She's good.
It's wrong, man. It's wrong. All right.
We're bad.
If you guys have any questions or comments about this, we're going to start winding it down, but give me an idea of what you'd like to ask. I had to take the opportunity because it's so rare that we get together. It's our first time. Although I'm having such a good time, I'm thinking of coming down every few months.
Yeah, you better,
it's,
man.
It's fun.
You got a room now.
Unirock Pad's fun, man.
Man,
ladies and
it's
gentlemen.
like a party every day.
We were actually supposed to go see hieroglyphs today,
Mm-hmm.
but
Native
whatever.
American
Petroglyphs, I meant. Petroglyphs. But yeah, that didn't happen because we got busy.
It felt so
sleeping.
good to be lazy today. It felt so good to be lazy.
You know, as I start fasting again, because I went to this wedding, and of course, when you go to a wedding, you know, you drink and you eat, and you. So I didn't fast at all that week, and then I started fasting again now. And for you guys that live like a fasting lifestyle, it knocks you that first day or two where you're doing it, to me, it just knocks me asleep. It's really all the toxic junk comes out into the bloodstream, and you feel like crud, and you just fall asleep. So I was pretty tired today. I fell asleep. I think I napped at like 3.
Yeah.
And
Me too. Around
and then-
2.
I'm not sure what Uni's excuse was. He just fell asleep like an old man on the couch.
I never sleep.
Like an old man. He doesn't sleep.
Why am I sleeping so much now? It's
don't know,
good.
I'm glad.
It's good.
You
I
need
me
to
too.
sleep.
I feel so much clearer in the head, you know. I might just go to bed after this.
That's what I'm hoping is my brain returns. I used to be a lot smarter, and over the years I'm getting stupider and
Me
stupider,
too.
and I'm sure it's the brain fog from just eating badly.
Pushing yourself sometimes to stay up super late, work on projects super long, and we forget that does
Really?
take a toll sometimes.
Oh, well, William Klein says, I dig your channel, man.
Oh,
I hope to
dude,
catch you
so
again
cool.
live. I guess I got him from you probably because I don't recognize William.
I see Williams, but I don't know if I've seen William Klein.
Well,
I
thanks
hope
for
so.
joining us, buddy. I appreciate the comment. And what's going on with me is, okay, so a while back, I had some personal life stuff go on, and I just was like, I could not host. I mean, my girlfriend broke up with me. My life turned upside down, and I was just not in a good position to be doing a show. If I had done it, I would have not been a very good host and checked out and thinking about other things. So I just haven't been in the mood to do it. I have done some live streams and stories that have been more light and just, hey, this is what I'm up to and this is what I'm doing. As the winter is coming, I will start getting into my back catalog of stories and start putting stuff out. But I'm on the road for about another 3 weeks to 4, and I probably won't be doing much but live streaming for a bit of that. So it'll take a while, William, before my channel like kind of normalizes, but eventually we'll start doing shows again. I don't really want to do them too late. Like, I suck at staying up late.
I think we'll get a bigger audience if we go a little sooner.
Well, the problem was I always started my show from 8 East Coast time. So the West Coast people could make it and some international people could make it. But if you go watch those streams, some of my shows used to go 3 to 4 hours, and I'd be falling asleep at like 10 o'clock. You know, I'd be going out on my own show hosting it. It's too much for me. It's really hard.
It is.
So I'm probably going to do shorter shows, and then maybe and then I'd like to do an afternoon show sometime, and I assume the crowd would be very different in the afternoon. But I am really glad that you guys are still here and wanting to watch something. I am open to ideas if there's something you'd like to do. But I don't want to pigeonhole myself to just Mandela stuff. I get kind of burned out on that. I'm willing to talk about anything that I feel is uplifting and on the path to being a better person. I'm trying really hard to be a better person. I screw up a lot, but I'm trying. And I think you've got to keep trying and trying.
Same here,
It's
Doc.
like, you know, if you don't try at all, then you just accept what's given to you and you get pulled down.
And that's when you get those crazy repetitious loops that happen, and you know how hard those are to break. So
Jarrell Presto says the Terry Lupo Variety Hour. Yeah, it'll be just like do you remember when the Brady Bunch ended and they had the Brady
I'm gonna
Variety
design
Hour?
it. You know I can design some stuff. That's gonna be the intro.
That's it. Is of the Brady Bunch.
The
You
Doc
guys
in the
didn't
middle,
know.
Uni over here, Burma down here, Vegan up here. It's gonna be awesome.
Whenever a show was popular in the 1970s, they would always spin off the characters to have their own variety hour, and they were always a failure. Like they would always be.
Oh yeah.
Like the Brady Bunch Variety Hour lasted like not even a season. I don't think. I think it went
Like
out.
3 episodes.
Went out in
They
flames.
axed it.
So that was pretty fun. So I'm going to try to be around more, but again, I'm trying to enjoy myself for the good weather. Like we need to get out and do something. Maybe tomorrow we're gonna go get some. I'm trying to get him to
Cider.
go to a corn maze, but
We have the perfect spot. I haven't even told you about. We have one of the biggest, oldest apple orchards that's literally a mile away. So it wouldn't even be a long trip. And they have like so many activities and like different things to do and see. It's really cool. We can stop there and do other things too and not even be.
I want to get some real cider because the stuff I've been
Perfect place to do it.
doing has been store-bought, kind of like preserved cider, and I don't like that as much. And unfortunately, like I want to brew some hard cider, and the best kind to get is right out of the orchard. So I'm going to try to pick some up to brew, and we'll see what happens with that. If not,
And
I'll
we've
just be
been
drinking
recording.
hot cider.
I want to make sure I tell everybody we've been recording a lot of video too when we go places and stuff. So you can expect at least on my channel for a couple weeks. I'm going to be releasing, different parts of some different trips. We got a snorer over there.
And you guys, if everybody's quiet, we can listen to Unirock snore.
She's gonna kill me.
Don't tell her about this. Oh,
She's awake. She woke up. Nope, she's back out.
Let's just look in the other direction, like we're not doing anything.
Oh yeah, it's over. Yeah, that nice cool thing there.
No,
Yeah,
she's,
we were
doing this.
looking there.
She's giggling at us now. She's shaking her head in disapproval. Never mind, ladies and gentlemen.
But we're gonna be releasing stuff about the, everything we've done. We got the Serpent Mound. We're gonna go see some other things, and it's gonna be some good videos that happen.
Yeah, well, and if we do find the corn maze or something, I'll live stream it. You guys can go through it, watch us get hopelessly lost, and eventually cheat and walk out the corn. Knock corn walls down and go out.
Hey, and on my last episode of Strangest Strangeness, I did a news story where a kid got lost in a corn maze and left there overnight. So I hope Doc doesn't leave me. That wouldn't be good. We'll see.
For you guys that don't know, Uni's pulling out this strangest strangeness. Could you tell the viewers what that is? Because
Sure.
I did one with them the other night, and
They're so
you really
fun.
should go listen to it because we just laughed the entire hour.
Yeah.
Like I was turning bright red laughing.
So I got lucky. One of my friends showed me how I can find like the craziest stories. Like some sites list news stories that are strange or crazy, but my buddy has a list of like these really unknown sites that are ran by like 1 or 2 people. They have all these lists of articles, and I pull those articles and we read them, and they are the funniest articles you've ever. they're just so strange and so funny. You wouldn't even believe them, and they just make you laugh. It's really cool. It's called Strangest Strangeness. It's on my channel, both my channels.
Currently, though, Uni Uprising is where we're trying to drive people. So
Uni Uprising.
Uni Uprising,
Several
please
episodes
just search that and subscribe. Hit the little bell. Hit the little bell so you know. Because for the next week while I'm here, I'm going to be probably practically every day. You're going to be doing something on there, and you like you want to see us together chatting. And some of the shows, like when we did the Strange is the Strange. It was funny.
Oh,
I mean, we just sat and laughed, and I hadn't laughed like that in a long time.
We had the whole studio laughing.
So if you want to just kick back and not necessarily take such deep, dark, crazy, intellectual topics, that's good. Because basically the way my show is going to evolve, and I think Uni's is the same way, is when I started, I was trying to be, more business-like and about. We kept very philosophical. But that's not really who I am.
Not all the time, or
that's
even
part
most
of me.
The time. Yeah, it's just
I'm
part.
I'm a goofball that likes to screw off, and so I think that eventually my show is, as it's evolving, is I like to do comedy. I like to have fun, although we can turn on a dime and talk about something very serious.
Oh yeah.
But then we're gonna go back to screwing around and turn around, and I think that keeps the conversation a lot more interesting and fun. And I know we'll lose a few viewers, but I'll hope to gain more.
And I think it's being our real self.
But it's being my real self.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not that we're not being our real selves when we do our shows, but we're minded for our shows. And I think that one thing I've done by gaining an audience, which luckily I've done in the last year, is I feel like I can be myself without as much, worry that it's going to sink my show. So I'm definitely heading that route too. All parts of me.
Jacob Israel just showed up. What's up, my man?
Hey, buddy. You got to get up here with us.
Well, wow. Give him a Ric Flair. Did you ever, Jacob Israel wrote stuff for wrestling? I want to ask him if he wrote Ric Flair's woo, woo, wow, Ric Flair.
He did have a good wow.
Yeah. So we're going to be having some fun. More tearing it up movies. I'm not sure what that means. What is tearing it up movies? So you mean the documentaries I do, like on farming and stuff?
Longer ones?
Is that what you mean? I do have a back catalog. I was going to do some silly, just completely Onion style comedy. Where, all right, for you guys who don't know, I have a history of being an author too. I've got some successful books out on Amazon a few years back, and I got tired of writing so serious, and I wanted to write comedy. So I started writing comedy articles, and they got very popular. And they were like Onion style articles. But then I was publishing them over at Hub Pages, and Hub Pages stopped paying me. And I was like, well, screw this. I'm not writing for free anymore here. And I just kind of stopped doing them. But I was going to start turning those articles into like fun YouTube stories. And again, this is the downside of YouTube, is sometimes you get pigeonholed as an I was that Mandela guy.
Mentally, yeah.
And I don't want to be that Mandela guy completely. I
was there too.
I want to have fun. I want to be, and I'm going to scare off some people, but we're going to gain some people that really like us for who we are. I mean, this is us.
Yeah,
truly. You come hang out with us, it's the exact thing. It's not like we're BSing you.
Basically, we've stopped looking at the numbers as much, you know?
And so, oh, they want us to do Mystery Science Theater 3000 movies.
We're working on that.
That would be fun. I would love. I do have a very exciting thing on the 28th of this month, October 28th. I am going to interview the most famous horror host, at least I think, in my mind, Count Gore Duvall, at least the longest one. I guess he's right behind Elvira. Elvira's probably a little more popular, but Count Gore's been in there for like 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got an exclusive interview with him, and then we're going to go watch a live movie. If you guys don't know what horror hosting was, back in the day when we only had like 3 channels, we had 4 in Washington, D.C. We had a UHF station, which is kind of like if you ever saw that movie with Weird Al, UHF, that's really what the station was like. It was like one guy running it on no money, and it had all the weird shows. And so they made this poor guy, his real name's Dick Dicel, make shows for this network. So he did a children's show. He was Bozo the Clown. And then he hosted Captain 20, which was like his version of like a Star Trek guy. He had like Spock ears and stuff, and he would show the sci-fi stuff. And then late night, the same guy would dress up in a vampire outfit and do Count Gore Duvall, and it was the adult comedy. And back in the day, it got so popular. It was more popular than Saturday Night Live. Like, it was on at the same time. And what you would do is when these old movies used to come out, they would get these cheap movies to run, you know, like I Was a Teenage Werewolf is what I'm going to see. And so you would go see these terrible black and white movies. And what would happen was they would show these movies, and they were all erratic times. So some would be like an hour long, some would be an hour 30, some would be an hour 25. So to fill this, the horror host would make up skits and do stuff so it would fit into a commercial format. But what happened is you never really watched it for these cruddy movies. You watched it because these horror hosts were so funny and they were doing such outrageous stuff. Well, I lived in Washington, D.C., so mine was Count Gordeval. You live in Ohio. Yours is probably Spinguli. Spinguli.
Yeah, I think so.
I think. These guys would be so popular, and it was way before Mystery Science Theater 3000. So sometimes they would cut themselves into the movie. You'd just like be watching House of Wax or something, and Count Gore's walking around in the background, and you know, like cameoing it. It was always really funny. So this guy, his show gets canceled in the late 80s, and instead of quitting, he goes to the internet, and he was like on the internet when it was still dial-up, putting up his shows, Count Gore. So he has been running a live horror hosting thing for since the 80s. Like, I think it's like 88 or 89. I mean, maybe 92 when it was really going. I can't remember the exact year, but it was really old. And he has been doing it, so he's like the granddaddy of horror hosts. And now there's all these horror hosts out there that do shows that you can just tune on the internet and watch a bunch of horror host community. But this guy's the granddaddy, and I got an exclusive interview, and I'm going to see him live host I'm going to see a movie with Michael Landon, the guy from Highway to Heaven. He was in, oh man, I forgot what it's called. Something about being a teenage werewolf.
No, that's it.
Yeah, I was a teenage werewolf.
I was a teenage werewolf. It's and then that other, he was in so much stuff, just real popular.
Oh man, this is going to be so great, and so
I can't wait.
I'm really excited, and I'm going to get a real interview with him. That will be October 28th, right before Halloween. Yeah, Peggy's talking about Dr. Shock. Yeah, I think he was out of a different city, but there's all these horror hosts now. So yeah, the Vegan Warrior, the guy is like in his 70s and he still looks great. I mean, I can't believe he does these shows. If you go type in right now, maybe Rachel, oh, she's asleep again. If you put in www.countgore.com, you'll see him. He puts out something every week. And he has like Help Now, where they have like books and video games and stuff, but he'll have you'll see this like little dungeon, and you'll hit the dungeon door, and that'll be it. It'll be Count Gordica, and Unirock's dropped in the link right there. So you guys will have to go check that out. Oh, I miss Jacob Israel. Good night, buddy. Yeah, I'm sorry you came in to hear about horror hosts.
We should call
I don't even know. Yeah, Jacob. If you want to, you want to stream with us while I'm in town with these clowns. Let me know, Jacob.
Yeah, buddy.
I think he left already. Well.
And it's the season to make videos, you know. We had a summer too, you know. So there's the fall, the winter's coming. There's gonna be a lot more videos.
Winter is coming. Actually, yes. Winter is here.
It is.
It's almost in the show.
It's time to stream.
Both. You watch Game of Thrones.
Oh, I love it. I live it.
Yeah, you guys. If you haven't watched Game of Thrones, spoiler, but yeah, that last episode of the last season. Woo! It's here. Winter's here.
I'm like Daenerys Targaryen. I wake up and say, I'm gonna break the YouTube wheel every day.
But it makes me laugh so hard that South Park did a whole series.
Oh my god, I loved it too.
And how they were just like, the zombies are coming, the dragons are coming. You just gotta wait. You just gotta be. Butters is like, no. Yeah. Butters is all so mad about it. That was so funny because it's like I feel that I reference that all the time. I'm always like, don't worry, the dragons are coming. Yeah. The dragons are coming. When they get here, it's gonna be awesome.
And it was though. I'm telling you.
That's funny. Yeah, Philly's Dr. Shock. That's what it was. Dr. Shock was in Philly, and Elvira was one of the only ones that ever went national. That's why everybody knows Elvira. She got so popular, she got syndicated.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe she was out of California. And then she ran for a little bit where they just, so everybody knew Elvira because she was also on there. But your local city, if you grew up anywhere near a big city, you had a horror host because they were all doing it.
She did movies too. A few.
Dr. Shock. I think Dr. Shock, is he the voodoo guy, the black voodoo guy?
I can
I
look.
can't remember who Dr. Shock is.
Shock.
But I recognize the name. Joner Games. Thanks for the show. You're welcome. I appreciate it. Oh, no, Dr. Shock is an old white guy. Okay.
There be fright.
I can't remember who I'm thinking of. The voodoo, the black voodoo
I know who
prince.
you're talking about, though.
I just can't remember who he is. But yeah, as Halloween gets closer, we'll start talking about more Halloween-y things. And some of my favorite things to do, a Halloween tradition, is I watch a lot. For you guys that don't know, I'm basically eternally trapped in 1970. I still watch Soul Train, and I still watch all the good stuff. And I love all the blaxploitation movies. I grew up on watching these things.
Oh, tell me about that one.
And we watch, so like every Halloween, Blackula was always on. And Blackula is actually a really, I mean, for the time period, it's cheesy because it's a 70s movie. And that's the charm of it. It's cheesy. But they get William Marshall, who's like a Shakespearean actor.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent actor. And you guys might know William Marshall better for being the king of cartoons in Pee-wee's Playhouse. The king of cartoons.
I didn't know that.
He was also, I think, the grandfather on the Cosby Show.
Okay.
I think. But William Marshall goes in and he plays a black Dracula, Mama Walda. It's that part's cheesy, but it's he plays it and it's actually really scary.
It's on demand right
and
now.
it's well done. So stretch yourself and go watch Blackula. It's one of my favorites. Blackula, Scream Blackula Scream is the second one where the voodoo doctor brings him back. Not as good, but okay, it's still worth watching for Halloween. So we'll watch all the great blaxploitation Halloween movies. I think there's also the black version of the Exorcist that's really good. Oh man, what is it called? Look up blaxploitation Halloween movies.
Well, do.
And Vegan Warrior's telling it Blackula. Yeah, Blackula was awesome, but I'm trying to think of the other one that was Addie. Is it? I can't remember what the name of the Halloween one is.
Oh, here, wait.
All right, so we got the spook, the primitive, the mystical dark. Oh, come on, where's the black?
Notable ones here. It's stereotypical and it's notable.
I'm trying to find the one that is actually
Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror.
I didn't know about that one either.
They're black people,
Abby, ABBY, 1974. Yeah, that's the one. That's the parody of The Exorcist. Yeah, that one's scary too. Not as good, but scary. I really enjoy those movies. We actually watched Black Dynamite today, which was really funny.
Oh man, loved it.
Really
never
funny.
seen it.
You've never seen Black Dynamite? They actually made a movie and then a cartoon. Not children-friendly cartoon, but if you like that era of the 70s, you'll crack up watching this. It was really well done. Let's see, Shannon SL311, tearing in the house. Lupo, first of his name. The sigil is Direwolf. Words, hey everybody. That's funny. My words are hey everybody.
Hey everybody.
Hey everybody.
Be nice to your cat.
Lupo does mean wolf in Italian, if you didn't know that. So there you go. You're halfway right. Oh, Charlie Brown. Oh, yeah. How can I not talk about this? The whole thing that got me in the Mandela effect. Did I tell you how I started, right? That Charlie Brown Christmas, the Halloween specials, what made me start searching and find the Mandela effect.
The ending of it.
Right. I remember the very end. So if you guys don't, maybe you remember this as a kid, and I'll just throw this out there. I watch Charlie Brown every year because I'm a sucker for nostalgia, and I'd watch it. And the very end of it, Linus falls asleep waiting for the Great Pumpkin, and Snoopy comes and fakes him out. Snoopy shows up and pretends he's the Great Pumpkin. But then Linus is hanging out, and he's like, I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to leave. And at the very end, he finally leaves with his girlfriend. She talks him into going, Sally. They leave. And then as the credits, right before the credits, all of a sudden a giant pumpkin rises up, and the Great Pumpkin comes out, and Linus misses it because he left. He was waiting for the Great Pumpkin the whole time, and he misses it. That's how it ends. I was watching it, and I was like, where the hell's the Great Pumpkin? And I'm sitting here talking to... back when I was dating Kate, I was talking to Kate, and I was like, where the heck is this pumpkin? Where's this pumpkin? And then it wasn't there, so I assumed that there was 2 different versions. I was like, well,
It got
you
changed.
know, it was 1960. It was probably considered too demonic. You know, it was a very Christian time period. Maybe they had to make 2 versions of it. And so I was like, where's the other version of Charlie Brown? And I couldn't find it. And eventually it stumbled me over to the Mandela Effect. I was like, I know that ending. I watched it 100 times as a kid.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if any of you guys remember that or not.
One of my first videos that took off a little bit was that when I touched on that.
Yeah. And so there you go. It's been almost a year. And now we are talking about
Coming full circle here.
yeah, Mandela Effect. How much has my life changed in a year? Holy cow. I mean, look at me. So there you go. I'm going to get Unirock to grow his beard like ZZ Top
I'm working
style.
on it. I'm going to braid it, though.
Okay, William Klein says he remembers the pumpkin. I'm glad. I
A lot
see
of
that,
people do.
that there are some people that remembered the pumpkin, and they all seem to be Mandela people, because when I talk about it online, people are like, there was never a pumpkin. They just yell at me. They're very hostile to mess with Charlie Brown. Don't mess with Charlie Brown.
It, you know, it's
Yeah.
you're wrong, man. It's like, no, we probably are right, I think.
Yeah, Miss Waffle says she remembers it never came. Oh, interesting. That she's Mandela, but
And then
really
it was like
interesting that we have
Snoopy.
different.
Isn't the one now
Yeah.
where it's like Snoopy walks up and it looks like a pumpkin?
He was still in that. He faked out Linus.
Yeah.
But at the end, Linus is like, Sally's like, you're gonna leave, and he like, I think now he just falls asleep in the pumpkin patch waiting, and he never comes. Where the old one, he left with Sally, and then the pumpkin came up.
I remember it, man. I can see it in my head. It's so strange.
So, all right, we don't talk much about Mandela Effect stuff, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you about one big one that no one else has found yet and talked about, that we found last night. So Unirock gets the new South Park video game. So if you guys didn't know, South Park puts out video games that literally look like you're walking around.
Exactly.
Like you're watching a show, but it's hysterically funny. The game, if you like South Park, I mean, it made me spit up numerous times. So if you're playing the new South Park game and you go in to the theater and you go walk over to the chairs where the member berries are. So the member berries, if you guys watch South Park, the member berries are like a, it's a kind of a joke about how this generation, you can slap any sort of nostalgic thing and they'll buy it and like it. Like how J.J. Abrams
drunk on nostalgia.
Yeah, that J.J. Abrams like just sits there and dangles a bunch of nostalgia, and people are like, "Oh, the new Star Wars is so good.
Yeah, everything's so great. Alien is so good, and
everything's so good because they cater to this generation, our generation, by dangling 80s nostalgia and everything." So these member berries are always like talking about 80s stuff. They're like, "You remember Ronald Reagan? Do you remember, you know, Wookiees? Do you remember the Millennium Falcon? Oh, I remember that." So you walk in this video game. Thank you. You do the impression. I remember that. So the member berries, one of the member berries is spouting out all this stuff. Like, you remember Chewbacca? Do you remember the Sinbad movie where he was a genie?
And he goes, I don't remember.
I remember. Oh, no, I don't remember.
Yeah.
He says that.
And I was
like, what? Are you kidding me? A Mandela Effect joke in the South Park?
The new South Park.
I was like, what?
I need to do a video on this.
Yeah, you should do one because I don't think anyone's talked about it yet, and we're the first. I'm gonna claim it. We're the first because the game only came out a day ago. But I couldn't believe they put a Mandela Effect joke in there for the member berries. I wonder how many more. We haven't even played the full game through, so
we'll find out. I'm sure they have more. They layer conspiracies in. They used to hide aliens in every episode. You have to find the hidden alien.
Oh, I don't remember
just like that little
like,
alien head. Yeah, it'd be in the weirdest thing, and there'd be one sitting there. Yeah,
like they did with She-Ra or something.
Yeah.
You're talking about like, all right. If you guys don't remember, again, I've never left 1970 and 80. There's a cartoon. He-Man had a spin-off, a sister named She-Ra, and part of their deal was they had this little this little creature called Lookie. And when She-Ra was on, you were supposed to watch the whole episode. Lookie would be in like one still shot in the background. Impossible to find. I think I found Lookie once. I mean, like once, barely. And then at the end of the show, they'd be like, Lookie, come on and be like, did you find me? I was here. And they would show it. There would be like this little rainbow bump, you know, way off in the horizon. I was like, come on. No little kid could find that. So
The
you're
aliens
saying the
they're
aliens
very
were like
visible.
that?
Whole like first 5 seasons or
They
10
put aliens in
seasons. almost every
I
episode.
never knew that.
Well, there's some episodes that have aliens in them and they don't hide them there, but yeah. I mean, they're in the most inconspicuous places, and yeah, people, it was. You can type. There's websites devoted to where each alien.
I'll have to look at
type
that.
it in and find it. Yeah.
Vegan Warrior saying He-Man was gay. Okay, there is a lot of homoerotic.
We won't deny
He-Man.
that, but
I mean, everybody's pretty ripped and they cuddle a lot. I don't know what they're feeding those
they
people
fall
on those
asleep
planets.
next to each other all the time. But does that mean they're gay? I don't.
They're pretty ripped. A lot of people were like, they thought I was gay, and I was like, man, I can't be gay. I can't get in that kind of shape. You seen the abs on those guys?
It's
like,
just, I can't
be gay because
I can't do my hair every day.
I just can't work out that much.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm not devoted enough.
The so for you guys that never watched He-Man, He-Man was a great. You can find it on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix now. If you want to,
good. They're good.
You want to show your kids. So they always try to teach like a lesson.
Oh yeah.
And it's very safe. Although it will make your child violent. If you have a little kid, He-Man solves all of his problems by throwing people or punching people.
Or
even though he says he never wants to, he always somehow winds up in a fight.
Yep.
Where She-Ra was way cooler in a sense that she got a flying Pegasus. Her sword could do so much cool stuff. Like her sword could turn into a lasso. It could turn into a shield. She could talk to animals. She could, I think the sword turned into a flaming lightsaber at one time.
Oh, yeah.
Like anything she wanted, she could do. And I always thought it was such a ripoff that He-Man, all he does is punch things. And She-Ra got like all these cool things. Although He-Man had the better wit. Like he made, he'd punch people and make jokes. When She-Ra tried to do it, it was much more forced. It was just that it just reinforces that whole women aren't funny stereotype, unfortunately. The She-Ra didn't help y'all's cause out there. She's just not that funny when she tries to do those one-liners.
No.
It's like,
really bad
like she'd freeze someone with her sword and be like, cool off.
Yeah. That was chilly.
That was a chilly response.
It's like, it's not funny, She-Ra.
It was very forced. Yeah, She-Ra's very forced.
I gotta love it.
What is going on in this conversation? So I didn't want to talk because the conversation for like 30 minutes on the live chat. This is why you guys need to tune in live to see the live chat. They sat there and talked for 30 minutes about tantric sex, and I wasn't going to touch that one.
Yeah, we just had to look.
We just blew the other way, and then now there's a big discussion about He-Man sexuality.
Oh, it's getting hardcore down.
And now it's getting to Xena, the warrior princess. Oh, now we're getting in the 90s, and that's a different story.
You're jumping decades on us, guys.
She-Ra was not a lesbian. She had the hots for her brother. That's all.
That's some Game of Thrones type stuff.
Yeah, there was some Game of Thrones on that. It's all cultural. On that planet is fine. It's considered not a big deal.
Yeah, it's just normal.
Yeah. So and actually on this planet until about 150, 200 years ago, it's pretty normal to date cousins and to keep it in the family. So it isn't until recently that it's not cool to do that.
Yeah, especially in Southern Ohio. I mean, I'm just kidding.
Oh man! Hey, you guys want to see Rachel again? Hold on.
The last Rachel.
All right, take a good look.
Uh-oh.
Now let's see if we can catch her.
She's on hold now.
She's gonna be pissed.
She always says she wants to be on the show. She got her wish now.
She's gonna be pissed. That's messed up, man. All right.
You get a little bit of a peek at the studio, though.
Yeah, there you go.
A bunch of couches and green screens and paintings hanging around.
Yeah, and then I made a whole series of videos about crappy Christmas videos. I'll have to rehash those. My favorite crap. So after Halloween, we'll start talking about really bad Christmas ones. But we should maybe make some stories about the crappiest Halloween specials out there, because there's got to be some bad ones.
There's some people on YouTube doing like the best ones. So yeah, we should take the other side of the spectrum.
I really like the crappy stuff better anyway.
And they're good. Even in their B-side crappiness, they're very fun to watch. They may not be good stories, but they're fun. They're just so funny. It's like they really tried to do that in the movie.
It's like, why do we even need to do Mystery Science Theater when we can watch these terrible movies?
Yeah, we could just do terrible Mystery Science Theater. 3000.
Oh, man, JoJo's calling us out. She's like, you guys are so mean. Don't tell her. I know Banjojo's
No,
going to
she's
spill
already
beans.
emailed her. She's told on me.
Yeah,
already.
Char says we're in trouble.
I'm just kidding.
All right, well, you got to see
I
behind the
love you,
scenes.
Banjojo.
It would be cool if Rachel would come on, but I think she's gun shy. I don't think she'll come on.
She may. We might get her to. We'll talk her into it.
Mr. Kinney, Vanessa, a little bit. Think Lupo is bringing Uni back to Mandela's side.
I've always been there. I just had to
he's-
take a dip, just because of the way it was going with not here, but other places.
This way. This camera.
Oh yeah, other places. You know, some other sides of the tube were exploiting it. I felt so. I dipped for a minute.
Well, Vegan, the reason I was talking about Christmas specials was because He-Man does have a Christmas special where they actually try to get Skeletor to be nice for a little bit.
Oh, I remember. You know, I'm
It's-
pretty sure.
I think it's on YouTube.
There's a commercial of that right now.
It's terrible,
Yeah,
but it's wonderful.
it's in a Geico commercial right now.
The He-Man.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
got like the whole. They got Skeletor and He-Man doing something, and it's really.
But there
Ask him
is
that
a few
episode.
scenes where, you know, He-Man and she were really kind of questionable. Like if as a little kid you wouldn't know, but as an adult you're like, what's going on here?
Why
Why do they look at each other like that? They just stare at each other, and they're all wearing, you know, like
Barely anything.
anything.
That's the one part of that show that was a little bit risque.
Oh, look, Shift Biter posted Battle Cat. There you go. There's a picture
Oh,
of
yeah.
Battle Cat. I didn't even know YouTube had emojis. Like, and all of a sudden I'm starting to see them. Are they
Oh,
new?
so many. I don't know
chat
how
emojis? I
old.
don't-
Yeah, there's a like you could just do the colon and get here and like
Where do you? I
cat,
mean,
and then you can bring up.
oh,
the
is that how
buttons.
they're getting them? Is
Oh,
that
yeah,
they're
you-
typing them in.
You type colon and then like
figured
a
they were under the
CA
smiley
or
face, but-
VA. Oh yeah, you can get them there too. But you know, you can also.
All
just
right.
shortcut it. Look
Okay.
at all these.
Wow, there's a lot of emojis I didn't know they had.
Just
So
a bunch
Unirock's
of random
just-
ones for you.
Letting you have that means something. If you're conspiracy people, that's a secret message. to you
Decode that.
guys. Decode it.
It's a
Get back to
numerical
us.
secret message.
Stardust lesbian Thundercats. Wow, Thundercats a whole different animal.
Yeah.
Thundercats, interesting story, right? These cats are trying to escape their planet exploding. There's holographic technology of the, and they have a young prince who's supposed to take over that's not ready. You know, I don't know if you remember the very first Thundercats episode. Lionel's like a little kid. And
Do
then
they
he
combine together to
grows.
make a big robot? No, that's
Voltron.
That's Voltron. Okay.
Which, by the way, the new
Great
Voltron
show.
on Netflix, pretty good.
Really?
Pretty
I
good.
gotta watch it.
Really good, actually. They got real voice actors, good storyline
Oh.
on Netflix, and they just have a new season. I haven't watched the new Voltron. Gonna have to get to that, you know, when we are done working, because I know I have to work first. But yes, we're gonna watch Battletoads. Do you remember Battletoads?
It's a Nintendo game.
Yeah, I remember
Really
Battletoads was a Nintendo game.
One
I'll
of
have
the
to look
first two
for that.
players that where you beat. It was a two-player beat up that really utilized it real well. It was really good. It
Yeah,
was a good,
Battletoads was fun.
experience.
There's a game, I wonder if this is a Mandela effect game or if anyone remembers this, called Pigskin, where it was like
I gotta look.
football, but back in the Middle Ages. And one of the guys was named the Troll, and they would all chant, like, send in the troll, send in the troll. I cannot find that game anywhere.
It's got its own review.
Wait, is it from? No, that's not what it looks like at all.
Pigskin Foot Brawl.
That's not it. Maybe this is it. Let me see. Well, we're trying to figure it out. Yeah, that could be it.
Oh my goodness, it is.
Yeah, it's like football in the Middle Ages.
Oh my gosh.
I thought it was a video game because I remember, you have to see what year that came out because I don't see it at Fun Spot. So for you guys that are tuning in New Hampshire has the largest arcade in the world, and it actually has a museum of antique arcade games. So you can go in there and play over 600 arcade games from 1970 to 1988.
Wow.
And everything you've ever grew up playing is in there for a quarter. And you go in and they lose money. They basically pay for the place by running a bingo hall. And it's a museum. And I did not see this game in there. And I'm wondering what year it came out. Oh, 1990. That's why it's not in there. Oh, no, but that's on Sega, right?
Yeah, no, it was earlier on the Genesis. Or on
When
the
was it in the
Nintendo.
arcade? The arcade
It would've been
version
way
was,
before.
oh,
Released
1990.
in 90 by Midway.
That's why it's not in there, because they cut off their games at 88. All right, good to know. So if somebody's looking for a Christmas present, I would like, what's the game called? Pigskin?
Pigskin 621 AD.
Yeah, if anyone wants to send me one, That would be appreciated. I do have a PlayStation 2 if it's on there. Is it on PlayStation?
It went up to the Genesis, it looks like.
Didn't go to the PlayStation 2?
Yep, just the Sega Genesis version.
Killing me. Somebody can somehow.
I can download you that for free.
Someone port that.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, come on now.
I've got it on that PC.
Char, you're not allowed to leave. She's like, I'm super sleepy. I gotta sleep. No,
Rachel and Char.
we're more important than your work.
Sleep.
You just look.
It's Thursday. I thought it was Friday.
Yeah. I forgot it's Thursday. Yeah. So are you streaming tomorrow?
Oh, yes.
What do you got planned?
So what I got planned for tomorrow is, of course, a video game. That's just one thing I do every day. And I'm going to do a Strangeness, but we're going to just do just a fun stream.
We should do a fun Friday night Strangeness. Just crack up and just be stupid.
And I've got a lot of Strangeness, so it'll be a good one because we won't have to sit on one article for long. We can hit a lot of funny articles. So
all right, so you guys be there, be square. Do you want to do it kind of later so they can join us, like 8 or 7?
8 o'clock's perfect. Yeah.
8 Eastern Standard Time on the new Uni Uprising. If you have you've not found Uni Uprising, you're gonna miss one funny show tomorrow night.
Because now listen, Friday nights on Unirock is just a fun night. We call it TGIF-PAN. Thank goodness it's Friday party all night. So we don't do long shows, but we still just do anything positive. So everything will be positive there.
Yeah.
No scary conspiracy, nothing like that on Fridays.
All right. Oh, David Lee, man, I haven't seen you forever. Hey, buddy. Rosie, thanks for joining us. What is the place called? Would love to go there. I'm not sure. Oh, Rosie, what the arcade's called is called Fun Spot. You can go look it up right now. Fun Spot. If you're anywhere in the Northeast, totally worth the trip. It's awesome.
I gotta go.
I go to Fun Spot probably once a month, and you can spend $20 in quarters, and it'll last like 6 months. You don't realize that these old games, when you get good at them, you can play for like 30 minutes a quarter.
Yeah.
So the whole idea was to eat quarters. So the games all kind of work the same. They're brutally hard to eat quarters in the beginning, but once you get the hang of them, you can last on one quarter for a long time. But
the art of the
you're going to have to pay like 30, 40 bucks in quarters before you get good enough that you don't need to pay a lot of quarters. There was a time in my life, and I'm still playing with it, that I wanted to put a world record on the arcade game because these arcade games are so rare now. It's hard to play them, but I have access to them. So I was going to put a world record on APB, which is All Points Bulletin. It's basically a game where you drive around, you're a police officer, and you're a corrupt cop that you heal yourself by eating donuts.
Oh, yeah.
Like totally
stereotypical.
Yeah, totally politically incorrect game that would never be allowed today. You know, you're like a cop that gets donuts.
Like, I'm getting killed. Go get the donut.
And so I was going to try to break a world record on that. And then I realized, dang, man, that's going to be hard because I'm going to have to spend probably a year of my life up there playing every other weekend to do it.
Until you meet Unirock, and I have every one of those games on an arcade.
They do, but they don't play the same.
Because true.
I have the game on PS2, and it is so hard to control with the controller. It's it's like worthless to play.
I'm trying to order my next purchase for the studio is an arcade stick with 2 players.
And yeah, man, you need to get one of the.
My friend Jerry has one, and it works perfect. It's just like an old arcade.
The emulators are awesome. Yeah. I would love.
I got all the main emulators for arcade. I just need the stick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, are you talking about? Are you going to actually set up a actual arcade game where you stand up with 2
I'm going to
sticks,
get another computer.
Emulators.
And my friend Jerry has its own computer, its own cabinet, the stick, everything. You stand there, it's just like it.
And they've come down in price a lot. I remember emulators used to be like $2,000. They're like $500-600 now.
Yeah, and I got all of them.
And but the problem is there's a problem with taking the emulated games and playing them on the sticks don't translate right. Like
there's been a lot of advancements lately.
Yeah, there's some emulators, and we were trying to play Double Dragon on, and the sticks just were impossible. They wouldn't work. So like there's certain games where it won't work, but I do believe if you do buy one, you could pretty much buy an emulator ready to go. They've tested them all and fixed all the problems. But Jarrell keeps bugging me saying he is a proselytizing about the Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi says, you need a Raspberry Pi. Jarrell came on and talked about how Raspberry Pi is a really cheap way to get emulated games, like $30.
Oh, yes.
It's basically like a miniature computer that can run old games.
Yeah,
for $30-60, something like that. I'm still waiting for the new one to come out before I fuck up. I was going to do it, and then Jarrell's like, just wait until the new Raspberry Pi comes out. And I don't think it ever has.
I've got all of them though, right? I gotta just install them, and they're there. I'm gonna just get them working. So I'll get on that tonight. Maybe we can play some.
Mr. Kinney says, Terry and Lupo, have you seen Luponopolis? It's a cheesy mockumentary, but seems to be a hint or explain the Mandela effect. I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, it's not Lupopolis. It's Lunoopolis. I read that wrong. I was like, no, man, Lunoopolis. So I guess it's something about being on the moon.
Okay, it's an actual production.
Yeah.
Okay, you gotta pay for it.
Oh man, I thought that
They
said Lupo. I read that too
entangled and
fast.
covering something on the moon. Wow.
Well, there's a trailer, so we'll have to watch that.
We'll have to check it out.
That'll be good. So tomorrow night, be sure to subscribe if you want to have some giggles and laughs with us. We are going to be reviewing the really crazy news stories. It will not be on my channel. It'll be on Uni Uprising. And then remember, that is Unirock's other channel. If you're subscribed to Unirock, that is on hold right now. YouTube sucks and stopped his channel, so he's making a new one.
Quit hitting the YouTube. Quit hitting the YouTube.
Yeah, it's a very abusive relationship, us and YouTube. You don't want to talk about it because YouTube will hit you with a bundle of soap so it doesn't show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, YouTube's very good about making it sure it doesn't leave marks.
Yeah, no, and you're not even joking, because my first strike was a bullying strike, and since they couldn't make that stick, they hit me with a graphic content strike, and I thought that was just so messed up that they changed the strike so that it would stick. It's so
messed
horrible,
up, man.
It just proves the censorship.
YouTube really bad on your YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so y'all be sure right now, before you forget, type in the word Uni Uprising.
That's right.
Actually, can you just drop
Of course.
it in?
I'm almost there.
He's gonna drop his address into the chat there.
Because
So,
we want to hang with you guys tomorrow.
if you want to be one of the cool kids and you want us to talk about you, you need to show up. Otherwise, we will talk about you, but it won't be what you want to hear.
That's right.
So you can either have us spread good rumors, or we're gonna start
Bad
rumors. I'm talking to you, Ben Jojo. And then let's see, we got hybrid healing. She's talking about infinite energy generators. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. We'll talk about another night, because we're not opening that can up right now. We will take questions on She-Ra and He-Man and any sort of inappropriate relationships that happened in 80s cartoons.
That's right.
GoBots, very questionable. There's a couple scenes in GoBots that I'm like,
The conspiracy is thick.
I don't know. So, M. Hobbs. Wow, the big donation. By the way, M. Hobbs, you donated the last time. I didn't even see it. So thank you for the 2 donations that you sent. Canadian money's the best money. We call it Canado.
That's right.
Just like from South Park.
Oh yeah, South Park. That's right.
Remember the Canadian Devil?
The best part of the game. Yeah, and then that was a great episode too.
Yeah. So in South Park, these kids get all hooked on freemium games. You know, the games that pretend to be free but then charge you in the game. And they get all hooked, and Stan ends up blowing like $500,000 or something on and they're buying Canado. Because the whole game is a Terrence and Phillip game where they're trying to improve Canada, and you just walk around and get Canada.
Make more Canada.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. Hey, Bio.
Hey, buddy. Hey,
Buy,
hey, friend.
buy some Canada. And so for now on, all the money you give me will be referred to as Canada. So thank you. Unirock, Terry, and Lupo, hybrid is a dude. I don't know what that means, Looney Tunes.
Oh no, he's a guy. You called hybrid a girl earlier.
Oh, I did? I did? Oh, hybrid healing's a guy? I feel like an idiot. I didn't know that. This whole time I thought you were a woman. I'm sorry. I had no idea. You know, those androgynous names, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
And it's also like my default's always going to be a girl, because
I do
my
that
audience
too.
is about 80% women.
Mm-hmm.
So it's usually right to be princess, feminine.
Doc and the Rock.
Thank you so much for the big donation. Yeah, it's been a while since we've rocked out. Uni rocked out. Yeah, I feel really bad about that now.
It's my specialty.
So hybrid healing.
Oh, it's
out
all
to
good.
you, man.
Well, you know, hybrid healing. It
Yeah,
just
it's
seems
kind of,
feminine in a way.
I'm sorry about that.
The healing part, I
It's
guess.
much like when you own a car, it's always a woman or a gun.
Yeah.
Don't you name your guns in the military?
Yeah. Oh,
women
yes.
names
Mm-hmm.
or boats. All right, so that'll be it. And I know we keep trying to leave for the last hour. I'm like, we're going, we're going,
and then He-Man
someone
and
brings
She-Ra
up a
keeps
damn
coming up.
He-Man She-Ra question, and I got to roll with that.
Yeah, it's like.
So, yeah, have fun with. We will see you tomorrow night, and if you'd like to just watch him game, what time are you going to game tomorrow? And
I usually game early. I do a morning game,
and that's over at your live dive channel, right?
Yeah, usually. Now, every once in a while, I shake it up. Don't get scared if I play a game on Uni Uprising. It's very rare. So.
Yeah. All right. And
all right, guys.
I appreciate the Canado. Love you guys. See you on the flip side. Remember, support each other, love each other, be nice to your cat. Where's your cat?
Gus just ran away.
Gus. All right.
Gus knew we were in there.
Gus was
Later,
approving
guys.
that message.
Be nice to those kitties. They roar.